morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, Phoenix members, our guests. Good morning, everyone. I am Dictu Baladad, and I am designated as your MC today for this GMM entitled the DOF, Looking Beyond 2022. All right, so, but before that, I have some announcements to make, and I will start with the committees that I like most. The Arts and Culture Committee is inviting everyone to the Pop Pinoy Hitback ngayon at kailanman. This is a Manila Sound webinar featuring Mr. Moy Ortiz, a singer, a songwriter, a producer, a teacher, and a writer as the speaker. This will be on July 23 at 2 p.m. Then the Social Involvement Committee would like to invite also everyone to a book launching of Miss Elenita Cabrera on Handbook on Personal Finance. And this will be on July 28 at 2 p.m. The Women in Finance Committee, of which I am a member, is also calling on all members to attend the WIF exclusive classification talk entitled Stewards of the Fallen, Death Care Amidst Pandemic. And this will be on July 29 at 12:15 p.m. The Membership Subcommittee, also on Lifetime Icons of Phoenix, invites everyone to a virtual get-together. The speakers would be Mr. Hans Sikat and Mr. Ray Alimuro. Then the Affiliates Committee is also inviting all members for the joint business networking session with the Canadian Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines. Also, please save the date for the Phoenix Annual Conference on October 4 to October 8, and the theme would be Inclusive Disruption, Achieving a Sustainable Future for the New Frontier. Then the CFO Search Committee. This time, please nominate your or save your date for the next ING CFO Committee of the Year. The deadline for nomination, by the way, is on August 15, 2021. And Phoenix is also happy to announce that the incentive program is again backed. And the incentive program is a recruitment of new members and attendance and active participation in Phoenix activities. Okay. At this point, I would like to acknowledge our year-round sponsors. We have our partner, Union Bank of the Philippines, Platinum sponsor, LT Group Inc., and First Philippine Holdings Corporation, Diamond sponsor, Ayala Land Inc., Gold sponsor, United Auctioneers Inc., Converge ICT Solutions, SGV and Company, Filipina Shell Petroleum Corporation. Our patron sponsor is Bank of the Philippine Islands, Certec Holdings Philippines Corporation, MegaWorld, Divina Law, and BDO Unibank. We would also like to acknowledge KPMG, RG Manabat and Company for sponsoring this year's annual CFO survey project. We will have a raffle after the GMM, so may I encourage everyone to stay until the end of the program. So that's it for the announcement. Now, to formally open the program, may I call on our President, Attorney Francis Lim, to call this meeting to order. Francis. Francis?
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, you're
I
coming
now
in.
call the meeting to order. May I now call the meeting to order, Dick?
Okay, thank you,
Hello.
Francis. Yeah, we can hear you,
Yes,
Francis.
I'm here.
Yeah, thank you. You called the meeting to order, right?
May I now call the meeting to order?
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so may I now request everyone to join me in prayer and singing of the national anthem. Okay, please bow our heads. We thank you, Creator God, for the goodly heritage you offer us. From green downland to the deep salt seas, and for the abundant world we share with your creation. Keep us so mindful of its needs and those of all with whom we share, that open to your spirit we may discern and practice all that makes for its well-being through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Let us now all sing the national anthem. Thank you. Thank you. May I call once again our president, Francis Lim, for his president's message and report.
Okay, thank you very much, Dick. May I ask your apologies because I have to put off my video to save on the bandwidth. To our guest speaker, the Secretary of Finance, the Honorable Carlos Sani Dominguez, our guest from NEDA, led by the Honorable Mike De La Rosa and Rosemary Adillon, friends from the other government agencies, and our friends from the media, guests, my fellow FINEX members, good afternoon. I welcome you all to the 7th General Membership Meeting of FINEX for the year. Time flies so fast indeed, and we are already in the middle of the year. The pandemic has extremely affected our economy, to say the least. Recently, Fitch downgraded the Philippine credit rating primarily to the economic fallout amid the pandemic COVID-19. Despite this, we as a people and our DOF are optimistic that our country is en route to a solid recovery path. Donated and purchased COVID-19 vaccines are arriving. We hope that this will fast-track the implementation of the vaccine rollout, which will definitely improve our economy's gradual reopening. Today, we are truly privileged and honored to have no less than the Honorable Secretary of Finance, the Honorable Secretary Sani Dominguez, as our guest of honor and speaker. We hope that Secretary Dominguez can share the accomplishments of the DOF for the past 5 years, the outlook of the economy, and the plans for the remaining year of the Duterte administration. On behalf of FINEX, thank you very much, Secretary Dominguez, for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today. Also, my sincerest thanks to the Programs and Meetings Committee, led by Chair Nanette De Jesus, Vice Chair Tony Boy Conchaco, and Liaison Director Edith Tischau for today's very, very important session. May I now report to the membership on what we did since the last June's General Membership Meeting. On advocacy, your organization remains to be at the forefront of national business and economic issues. FINEX led the issuance of a joint statement supporting the proposed Financial Consumer Protection Act, issued on July 18, 2021, and was co-signed by 19 other business and professional organizations. We also led a joint statement on the untimely death of former President Benigno S. Aquino III, issued on June 25, 2021. Thank you to the National Affairs Committee, led by former BSP Governor Sai Tatanco and Risa Mandarin and Liaison Director Toti Bengson for these public statements. On our CSR, Phoenix is an active co-convener of Election 2022 Coalition. Since the national election will be held next year, we in the board thought that it would be appropriate for us to encourage voter registration among our new registrants, especially the youth, and to reactivate deactivated voters. Likewise, we shall participate in advocating for voter education. As you may be aware, Phoenix made a modest donation to the coalition and also launched a fund drive among its members for this cause. Through our Good Governance Committee, with the support of our Media Affairs Committee and Junior Phoenix Committee, in partnership with the Management Association of the Philippines, Makati Business Club, and the Coalition PH, Phoenix will hold a virtual event on August 27 to promote voters registration. We hope that you will support this event and advocacy. I thank Project Lead Kel Lampa, GCG Chair Rod Franco, and Liaison Director Bing Matoto for spearheading this campaign, together with Media Affairs Committee Chair Wilma Miranda and Liaison Director Larry Concepcion, and Junior Phoenix Committee Chair Mildred Kitangol, and Liaison Trustee Benny Solubden for their support. On past events, our moderator, Attorney Dick Dubladad, had already mentioned our webinars and all others online socials and meetings. Suffice it to state that for the past 1 month, we conducted 9 webinars and online socials and meetings. The activities were announced earlier by Dick and are now being flashed on the screen. In this regard, let me thank the Women in Finance Committee led by Chair Terry Magleo and Liaison Director Titi Solveda, Arts Committee led by Chair Leah San Juan and Liaison Director Domingo, Life Subcommittee Chair Archie Bartolome, Fellowship Subcommittee Chair Jen Yap, Membership Recruitment and Retention Chair Alvin Jelly, and Overall Membership Committee Chair Caloy Cervantes and Liaison Director Titi Solveta, the Professional Development Committee led by Chair Paul San Pedro, Co-Chair Edith Estacio, and Liaison Director Omar Cruz, Good Governance Committee led by Rod Franco and Liaison Director Bing Matoto, Tax and Legal Committee led by Chair Dick Dubladad and Liaison Director Yuni Mata Perez, Affiliates Committee led by Chair Caloy Cervantes and Liaison Director Domingo, and last but not the least, the Media Affairs Committee led by Chair Wilma Miranda and Liaison Director Larry Concepcion for the webinars and other online activities they organized for the membership and guests last month. On future projects, we have a lineup of succeeding projects for the coming months. These activities were also mentioned by Attorney Dick and are now being flashed on the screen for your information. Please make time to attend them as they're valuable takeaways for your businesses, especially at this critical time. On the CFO of the year, the deadline for nomination is on August 15, 2021. Nominate your choice for the CFO of the Year award now. In this regard, I would like to thank ING Bank Philippines for continually supporting this annual search, especially now that we are in the midst of the pandemic. I would also like to send my gratitude to the CFO of the Year Committee, head by its chair, Jet Pampolina, and Liaison Director, Flo Toriela. On the annual Phoenix Conference, as I said in previous meetings, the same is scheduled for October 4 to 8 with the theme, Disruptive Inclusion, Achieving a Sustainable Future in the New Frontier. This year's conference will still be virtual with a series of webinars to be held throughout the week. The Phoenix Week Committee led by co-chairs Brian Edang and Albert Gamboa and Liaison Director Mike Borin continues to invite international speakers, experts, and world leaders to be keynote speakers and panelists. We will make sure that this year's conference will be a remarkable one. Make sure to mark your calendar. Another project of the Phoenix Week Committee is the setting up of the Presidential Balls and Vice Presidential Balls Forum in the last week of October. The Manila Times has graciously accepted to be the event's media partner with the Federation of Filipino-Chinese Chamber of Commerce and Industry as co-host. On our membership drive, may I reiterate our call for everyone to support our membership recruitment drive this year. With the increasing number of life members who will be entitled to exemption from the payment of annual dues, we have to recruit more new members this year for our organization's sustainability. Apart from this, due to the adverse economic effect of the pandemic, we see some of our members resigning, and some have already done so. As Dick has announced, your board approved an incentive program for all the members. Your active involvement in our activities and projects and recruitment of members will entitle you to discounts for your next year's membership fee. On the amendments to our articles and bylaws, I am pleased to inform all of you that we already have the SEC-approved amended articles of incorporation and bylaws. We tightened up on the rules governing life membership in an effort to sustain the financial health of our organization. Another significant amendment in our charter is the acceptance of associate members to our roster. We will soon announce the guidelines for the acceptance of this new category for membership. We hope that the associate members will be the future of our organization. Thank you to the DAX and Legal Committee, especially EVP Uni Mata Perez, for working on the amendments to our articles and amendments. We also had another project on our Code of Ethics. We revised it, and the revisions focus on enhancing proper and ethical conduct, respect for confidentiality of information, particularly on personal data information, clarification on conflict of interest, and emphasize gender inclusion, sensitivity, and protection from harassment. The new code will be shared with everyone for proper guidance. On sponsorship, at this point, I would like to reiterate PHINEX's sincerest gratitude to the following companies that have made commitments to support PHINEX throughout the year: Partner Union Bank of the Philippines, Platinum First Philippine Holdings Corporation and LT Group Inc., Diamond Ayala Land Inc., Gold, Converge ICT Solutions, Philippine Shell Petroleum Corporation, SGB and Company, United Auctioneers and Patron, the Bank of Philippine Islands, Video Uniban Bank, Divina Law, Sirtec Holdings Corporation, and Megaworld. And special thanks to KPMG RB Manabat and Company for the annual CFO survey, which we're launching this year. We will continue to update you on our upcoming programs, particularly on the developments of our significant trust for this year, and we fervently hope to receive your continuing support. Thank you, at Pabuhay at PHINEX.
Okay, may I now, thank you, President Francis. Now I would like to call on the chairman of the PHINEX Research and Development Foundation, Mr. Jeng Pascual, the chairperson of the Junior PHINEX Committee, Ms. Mildred Vitangcol, with USEC, Jose Miguel de la Rosa from NEDA, for the symbolic signing of the MOA for the JPHINEX NEDA internship program.
Thank you very much, Dick. Honorable Secretary, Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez, Honorable NEDA Undersecretary for Corporate Affairs, Jose Miguel de la Rosa, PHINEX President, Attorney Francis Lim, PHINEX Foundation Liaison Trustee, Mr. Benny Soliven, our beloved JPHINEX Committee Chair, Mildred Vitangcol, 2021 boards of the PHINEX Institute, Foundation, and Academy, colleagues in PHINEX, good morning. We are proud to announce this ceremonial signing of the Memorandum of Agreement between the National Economic Development Authority and the PHINEX Research and Development Foundation through the Junior PHINEX Committee. This was born out of the invitation of Secretary Carl Chua to our JPHINEX students during the National Economic Forum earlier this year for them to join government and contribute to economic recovery. Under this internship program, JFINEX will be collaborating with NEDA in selecting 3 outstanding and deserving students to work virtually with NEDA for a 2-month period. This will provide a venue for the selected students to gain working knowledge and experience beyond the classroom, while providing or creating the opportunity for possible permanent employment at NEDA. Through this program, we aspire to prove that JFINEX could be a rich source of young finance talent to support the government's economic development plans, while providing our JFINEX students opportunities to explore and build very fulfilling public sector careers. I wish to thank JFINEX Chair Mildred, Liaison Trustee Benny Soliven, Ding Matoto, Attorney Ebot Tan, the rest of the JFINEX Committee, and the FINEX Secretariat for working hard on this arrangement the past weeks to make it a reality. And of course, special thanks go out to Bing Matota for serving as a conduit with NEDA and for pushing the arrangements to get us to where we are now. I'd like to especially share our immense gratitude to Secretary Carl Chua, represented today by USEC Mike De La Rosa, for opening the doors of NEDA for this collaboration. I look forward to seeing the NEDA, our JFINEX students, and the country reap the benefits from the success of this program. Thank you. USEC Mike, you may share a message.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Secretary Carlos Dominguez, distinguished members and officials of FINEX, ladies and gentlemen. NEDA is very much honored to be hosting the FINEX interns. As mentioned already by Chairman Pascual, we are looking forward to more interaction with FINEX so that as we move forward in the national development agenda, we would be harnessing the talents that are present in the schools and those trying to aim for the sky, for heavens. Ambition 2040, which is the hallmark of the Philippine Development Plan, looks forward to a series of Philippine development plans that would be implemented by the future administrations, and that looking at the talents and the contributions that our interns can make, although it will be very short-lived exposure to NEDA, we are assuring FINEX that this short period, these interns would be exposed to the goings on in NEDA, so that we can harvest the talents that they would be bringing forth to the internship program. Thank you to all for this opportunity, and we look forward to a continuing program with FINEX.
Thank you very much,
Mike. Thank you, Jeng. Thank you, Mildred. So that's how ceremonial signing looks like online. Thank you. Now it's time to introduce our new members. So may I now call on the chairman of the membership committee, Mr. Carlos Rial Cervantes, to introduce them.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon. We will now induct the following new members. I shall call on the name. I'll state the company position and the company and their sponsors. We start with Mr. Michael Chong, the Director and Head of Origination and Client Coverage of China Bank Capital Corporation, sponsored by Brian Edam. We also have Amormio T. Latorre, Chief Financial Officer and Risk Officer of Asticom Technology, Inc., sponsored by Maricar Reyes. The next is Maria Belen Lim, CEO and owner of Ma Belen B. Lim Golden Press, Inc. Stephanie Zulueta sponsors Belen Lim. So to add solemnity to the occasion, may I request all the members to kindly open your video, and may I call our President, Francisco Ed Lim, for their oath of membership. Thank you.
Hello,
We can hear you,
Hello.
Mr.
Can you
President.
please raise your right hand? Hello. Can you please raise your right hand? Okay, and follow after me. I state your name.
I,
Marbillo La Torre,
Maria Belen Dream,
Having been accepted as a member of the Financial Executives Institute of the Philippines,
having
having been accepted as a member of the Financial Executives Institute of the Philippines,
that I do hereby solemnly swear that I will faithfully discharge to the best of my ability
I
do
will
hereby solemnly swear that I will
will
faithfully discharge
to the best
to the best of my ability
my duties and responsibilities in the pursuit of its goals and objectives,
my
my
duties and
duties,
responsibilities in the pursuit
of
goals, and
of goals
the
and
goals and
objectives,
objectives
that I will protect and uphold its constitution and bylaws,
that I will
that I will
uphold
protect
and
and
protect
uphold the constitutions and
its
bylaws,
that I will abide by its code of ethics,
that I will
that we
abide by
abide
its
by its
code
code
of
of ethics,
ethics,
that I will observe the highest professional, moral, and ethical standards
I
I
will
will
I will
observe the
observe the
highest
highest
professional,
professional,
moral, and ethical
moral
moral
and ethical
and ethical
standards,
standards
standards,
and that I voluntarily impose this obligation upon myself without mental motivation or purpose of evasion.
that I will
that I voluntarily
voluntarily
impose
impose
this
this
obligation upon
obligation
myself
self.
without mental reservation or purpose
and
of evasion.
motivation.
So help me God.
So
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 help me
help
help
me
God.
God.
me God.
Thank you very much and welcome to Phoenix.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to Phoenix.
Thank you.
Warm welcome for all our new members. Thank you, Francis, and thank you, new members. You may now select your committees. You're entitled to 3 committees, by the way. So welcome once again. Now let's start with the main part. Okay. Our guest speaker and for today is the same person who appeared before us prior to COVID-19 as the country's chief architect of the country's economic growth, unprecedented economic growth, and that made us all slept soundly at night. Today, he is here as the same chief architect, but this time, chief architect of the country's economic recovery. And I'm talking of no other than our own Finance Secretary Carlos Sonny G. Dominguez III. Sir, thank you for gracing our event today.
Thank you very much, Attorney Baladad. Mr. Ed Lim, President of the Financial Executives Institute of the Philippines, Board of Directors and members of FINEX, distinguished guests, good afternoon. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak before you today. It is always a pleasure to be with the members of FINEX. Before going into the matter at hand, let me thank the members of FINEX for the support you have extended to the tax and economic policy reforms of this administration. The achievement of these measures set us on a stable fiscal footing ahead of the pandemic. That strong financial position enabled us to deploy all that was needed to meet the global health crisis head on. At the start of this pandemic, I warned that the battle could be long. Considering this, it was important to maintain fiscal responsibility. We had to be ready for the long haul and keep our powder dry for a protracted battle. True enough, this pandemic has been a tough foe. Despite progress in the vaccination programs, countries around the world are still grappling with surges and spikes in infection due to the more contagious Delta variant. The long battle with this virus and the restrictions on the movement to contain it forced many economies to contract. The economic slowdown reflects in decreased revenues. For 2020, our total revenues dropped by 9% compared to 2019. For the first 5 months of 2021, our revenue collections reflect the onset of recovery. Collections were 13% higher than the same period last year. We were able to keep up the revenue flows going mainly through the digitalization efforts. Our revenue collections and a higher public health bill translate into budget deficits. To cover the budget gap, we had to borrow more. It is a necessity. This is the way the world works. Fortunately, with our high credit ratings, it was not difficult to engage in emergency financing with concessional rates. Recently, Fitch affirmed our investment grade rating of BBB. The outlook, however, was adjusted from stable to negative. I would like to point out that our credit rating did not incur a downgrade. It is only the outlook that was revised. Although the negative impact of the pandemic on the Philippine economy has been significant, this will be only temporary. This outcome is mainly attributable to the fact that our economy is heavily consumption-driven. When the pandemic struck, consumer spending dropped. Many enterprises in the retail, hospitality, and tourism sectors were badly hit. Nevertheless, our financial and banking system did not buckle under the pressure of the pandemic. Our currency remained relatively strong. We have the reserves to support our imports. Our deficit and debt figures remained manageable. Unlike in a war, where productive assets such as infrastructure and human capital are destroyed, the pandemic and the economic crisis caused leave our economic resources intact. Our macroeconomic fundamentals remain solid. With fiscal discipline and economic reforms that work, the Philippines was able to get its act together. The government handled this crisis in a prudent and decisive manner. Congress passed fiscally responsible measures. So far, our interventions to save lives and rescue the economy have been prompt and effective. We never ran short of financial resources to look after our people's health and safety. We have the fiscal means to support not just COVID-19 response, but also our long-term economic investments. We literally have the resources to acquire more than enough vaccines to inoculate 100% of our adult population this year. The only thing holding back our vaccination program is tight global vaccine supply. Plans for future Horizon vaccines are now being evaluated for 2022 onwards. These include inoculation of our children, as well as the administration of booster shots for those already vaccinated. The proposal is to include such supplemental amounts in the 2022 budget. Congress moved quickly with the passage of the Financial Institutions Strategic Transfer Act. This helps our banks unload non-performing loans and assets to strengthen their lending capacity. The largest intervention to help businesses keep afloat is the enactment of the Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives for Enterprises Act. CREATE not only leaves more cash resources for firms to sustain employment or use for investments, but also positioning them to be more regionally competitive and attractive to foreign capital infusion. The Build Infrastructure Modernization Program will play a lead role in our recovery. our programmed infrastructure spending will remain above 5% of our GDP until the end of the president's term. Such economic investments have the highest multiplier effect. The modernization of our public infrastructure will not only serve offset weaknesses in private investment this year, but will also lay down the foundation for higher growth in the coming years. Our strongest asset continues to be our population. With an average age of 25, we have a very young and skilled workforce. They will sustain demand and create wealth for the national economy to resume its path to rapid growth. It is because of this demographic sweet spot that we are confident we can bounce back strongly from the impact of the pandemic. Before we end our term, the Duterte administration will make sure that we help the next president and the next generations address fiscal and economic risks. We will continue the ongoing digital reforms in our revenue agencies to make sure that they match the efficiencies of the best comparable institutions worldwide. To ensure the long-term recovery of our economy and attract more foreign investments, we are urging Congress to pass the amendments to the Foreign Investments Act, the Public Service Act, the Retail Trade and Liberalization Act. We get nothing from a close-minded attitude towards foreign investments. With the continued globalization of supply chains, we either liberalize at a quicker pace or risk getting left behind. Our economy should no longer labor under the weight of dead economic orthodoxies. We must open up to the most mutually beneficial arrangements we can get from the rest of the world. With Congress's support, we have enacted almost all packages of our tax reform program except two. We will relentlessly pursue the passage of the Real Property Valuation and Assessment Reform Act and the passage of the Passive Income and Financial Intermediaries Taxation Act. This essentially was supported by members of the FINEX, for which again I want to thank you. Completing these measures will help secure our fiscal stability and boost the resilience of the Philippine economy against future economic shocks. We will also work with Congress in enacting the military and uniformed personnel pension reform that will keep the system fundable, manageable, and fiscally sustainable for the long term. We are also supporting the Capital Market Development Act of 2021. This aims to further deepen domestic capital markets by building a sustainable corporate pension system for our people. I will not preach to the converted by going into any more detail of these proposed pieces of legislation. It should suffice to say that our economy cannot be competitive in the 21st century unless we adopt 21st century policies. I will continue to look to the membership of FINEX for advice and support to get the remaining reforms legislated before the end of the Duterte administration's term. I am confident not only of your expertise, but also of your patriotism. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Secretary. So it's now the time for the Q&A, or we call it open forum. And may I call on the moderator, who I need not introduce because everybody know him. Romy Bernardo. On his request,
Thank you.
Second time, I will not introduce him lengthily.
Thank
A very lengthy introduction.
Thank you, Dick. I guess the only thing I would mention about my past is my past association with the Department of Finance and why I am wearing the Department of Finance colors today, purple. Allow me, sir, Secretary, to add my thanks to earlier speakers for your graciously addressing us. While waiting for questions from the audience, may I break the ice with a couple of my own, which I also crowdsourced. Apologies, Secretary, if this has already been covered by your speech, but please feel free to elaborate or disregard them if you feel that it has been covered. The first one is this. It has become clear that economic course of countries will be defined by their ability to protect populations through massive vaccinations. How confident are you, sir, that we can achieve some level of protection to resume normalcy of some sort in mobility, enough to achieve the DBCC growth targets for this year and next? Will we have enough vaccine supplies and deployment capacities nationally? Will we be able to overcome vaccine hesitancy? And this is, I guess, the crux of the question. I gather there is political clamor among LGUs outside of the NCR plus 8 to also receive from the first batches. This is somewhat deviating from the national government strategy supported by the private sector of focusing on getting the herd immunity in the NCR plus 8, the ports of entry, to arrest especially the spread of Delta and other new mutations to the outlying areas. Also because NCR plus 8 accounts for about half of our GDP and has the superior capacity to roll out quickly and has the capacity for proper storage to prevent waste. Sorry for the long question, sir. Your thoughts, please, on this.
Well, I'll try to answer it. First of all, yes, I am confident that we have the resources to vaccinate 70% of our population, which is 100% of our adult population. So far, we have received up to July 21st, roughly, I think, somewhere around 28 million doses already, roughly that amount, okay? We expect to receive 70 million doses in the third quarter, and we expect to receive 55 million doses at the end of the last quarter of this year. So that amount is really sufficient to vaccinate the 70%. So we've also shown that the vaccines don't get stored for a long time. They are injected into people's arms as quickly as we can. Okay, I mean, compared to other developed countries, one of them is our neighbor to the east here. They are very slow. Okay, so we are doing pretty well in the vaccination program. I think your next question was, how are we going to allocate these vaccines? Okay. Well, if you have a fire, where the hell do you send your firemen? Okay. You send them to where the fire is ongoing, right? So that is the way I think we should continue to allocate our resources, where the infections are. Okay. Of course, I know it's political season coming soon, and it's very nice to be shown for candidates to be shown, with the vaccines, etc. But let's use our head, okay? I'm not saying the provinces should not get any, but we should focus on where the infections are and where are they. In the big cities, Manila, Cebu, Davao, right? Those are the areas, or not Manila alone, what we call mega Manila, okay? So that's where the infections are. That's where people come in from outside. So let's focus on that. Let's use science, and of course we should have some allowance for the political needs of some people, but let's not forget that, you put your resources where they're needed. What's your other questions?
You've answered it, sir. You've
Okay.
answered it. Thank you so much. Maybe while I'm waiting for questions from the audience, I have a second one, and I may have asked this in an earlier forum, but feel free to either disregard or add to your presentation earlier. Despite the overwhelming support by Phoenix and other business organizations and think tanks and former finance secretaries, also former finance undersecretaries, there continues to be critics that create savings benefit only the big corporations, and they are therefore wasted. That this is better used as fiscal stimulus, including for the sustenance of the poorest and the jobless. Would you like to address this again, sir?
Yes, yes. You know, if you're in public life, expect criticism. Okay, it's fine. It goes with the territory, and of course, my job is to respond to this. Okay. First of all, the idea that this create is going to only benefit big corporations is goddamn nonsense. Okay. 98%, or I don't know the exact number, certainly over 90% of the enterprises in this country that will benefit from them are small enterprises. And by the way, their taxes are cut from 30% to 20%. The large corporations only from 30% to 25%. Now, of course, in large numbers, the guys who pay more taxes are going to benefit, right? So that goes with the territory. Okay, you want to give a tax credit there, and the idea here is really to keep the money in the hands of the private sector so that they can use it to reinvest, to keep employment, their employees there. You know, government is not very efficient in allocating resources. If you give us the money, we have to sit down and try to allocate it. And you know that you guys know very well that some of it gets wasted. Not everything gets done in the right way. So it's better to leave it in the hands of the private sector. That's number two. Okay, so we have, however, already spent 600, according to Wendell Avisado yesterday, our total spend on this, on supporting the COVID-19 pandemic efforts, including supporting people, is already 660 billion pesos. Now, for the first year, we're going to drop around 100 billion for the create, the tax bill. That's certainly less than what we gave direct out. How much did we give? I think we gave around almost 250 billion pesos last year on direct subsidies. That's so, I mean, what you're talking about. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Very reassuring. Another one, given the Supreme Court final decision on the Mandanas case, widening the IRA base, the snowballing increase in pensions of uniformed personnel, the shrunken revenue base and higher spending, and the jump in the debt to GDP by 10 basis points from 40% to 60%, not to mention the likely jump in some contingent spending with the pressures to support strategic industries and maybe some banks if we ever get there. Should we worry about a downgrade in our credit rating down the road? I know you touched on this, but if you'd like to elaborate further, how would you answer critics who like to say, as former Deputy Governor Diwa quoted or parodied, hindi naman nakakain ng high investment credit rating? Thank you, sir.
Diwa, you should know better than say stupid thing like that, okay? Number one.
I think, sir, no, he mentioned it in order to show that it's wrong. Sorry. I should have premised. It was a parody. Sorry. It was a parody. Okay. Sorry, Secretary.
Sorry. Well, then, he's smarter. He's smart, okay? I always knew he was smart. So that's number one. Number two is, of course, we are going to be in a difficult situation. Of course, you know, there's a possibility that we will be, our credit rating will be downgraded. But let me ask that, and this is the question I have asked the rating agencies, and they have not given me the answer. Have we slid down the curve, or has the curve been forced downwards? Now, if the curve has been forced downwards, is it still correct to use old standards? You know, the 2020 is a year of disconnect. Okay, I think for the entire world, I think what has happened is that the entire growth curve has been forced downward by this little virus. Okay, so what are we gonna do? Is it are you going to use old standards, or are we going to adjust the standards? I really don't know. I'm not a credit rating guy, but you know, if you want to use the old standards and downgrade us, fine. Hey, by the way, Fitch is only one of, I think, 5. Okay, and incidentally, these guys are not infallible. I mean, look at what happened in 2008. Okay, and before that. So there. I can't hear you. I can't hear you, Romy.
Put on your mic, Romy.
Sorry, Secretary. I see
Yeah.
now a number of questions, and I'm going to go to them. I will start with those that have identified themselves. This is from Marilu Cristobal, a stalwart of Phoenix. There have been concerns about the DOF/administration being rather gun-shy in providing adequate stimulus to the economy. Should the Delta variant create a new surge in infection, which may well necessitate a new lockdown, would it then be time to bring out the bazooka? Will DOF support the stimulus package approved by the House?
Look, what we want to do is do what is reasonable and affordable by us and future generations. Okay, if we have a more difficult situation, of course we will reconsider the path we are on. So we will definitely look at that. It's what is affordable and what is necessary. Okay, so we're not gun shy, and we will keep our mind open to all possibilities. But as of the moment, I think we have tread a path that is sustainable, that is reasonable, and I think that that has preserved our resources for possible events such as another surge.
Thank you, Secretary. This one from Ezekiel Lampa. The administration still enjoys a political capital to influence legislation to encourage FDIs. However, there is not much time. What is the outlook in terms of crafting and implementing what you termed as 2021 policies on attracting FDIs within the Duterte administration?
Well, we passed CREATE, okay? That is the major effort that we have done, okay? And I think that will make us a more attractive place to invest in. So, however, let me just point out that, you know, I have already begun the transition period to the next administration. I have exactly 344 days to go, okay? And I'm not counting, but but we are taking our responsibility very seriously. And the priority we have is our fiscal consolidation program. That is what we are going to do. Our very experienced team is already in the process of crafting a playbook as a suggestion to the next administration for what to do to recover from this fiscal situation we have found ourselves in.
Thank you, Secretary. This one from an anonymous attendee. I will ask it also because it's aligned with FEF advocacies and what you had said earlier. very strong words and correct ones regarding opening the economy to foreign investment. But the Senate appears conservative and wants to keep the 60-40 rule for many services that are not natural monopolies, such as telcos. The Senate PSA debate will continue in the next weeks. What specifically can Phoenix do to help?
Well, you know, I really relied on Phoenix, FEF to supply what is sensible, okay? And your voice is very important in this debate. And people should allay their fears about foreign investments, okay? You know, people are going to say, wow, you know, the economy is going to be owned by foreigners, etc., etc., etc. But, you know, unless you challenge the local businessmen, they are never going to get up to bat. Now, I'll give you an example. Look at the rice tariffication law, okay? When we said, okay, we will just tarify rice, people are saying, oh my God, you know, the rice industry is going to collapse. They're actually producing more, and they are producing better quality, and they are producing a wider variety. Now, some guys who are planting rice in areas that you cannot get a good yield are going to fall off the map. You know, they should change. We should not continue supporting the weakest in the herd.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. This one also anonymous, but I will ask it because I've heard this is a concern among exporters and a number of other organizations. Secretary Dominguez, can you confirm the review of BIR's Revenue Regulation 9/2022 following exporters' concern? Will implementation of the revenue regulation be deferred in the meantime? I'm not sure if this has gone to your desk already, sir, but feel free to answer. Feel free to answer.
It has. Yes, we will review it, and we will implement it according to the law. Now, the law, unfortunately, is not very fair. Okay, there is one law in train, and there is another provision in create. Okay, we will implement it strictly as we are sworn to do. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Secretary. This one from Edith Di Chao, also a stalwart in Phoenix. Secretary, for all the common folks, we have been hearing the humongous debt of our country and that each Filipino is already in debt for a few 100,000 pesos. What can we expect for our future? I know it's hard to balance giving out ayudas, buying the vaccines, which many rich people are availing in double vaccine brands because they have many LGUs that they can get their slots. Do you have money to pay for all of this? Please enlighten us and those who haven't stopped giving that sentence to our economy. Thank you, sir.
There are two parts to that question. Yes, we have enough resources to inoculate 100% of the adult population in the country, okay? We have the total budget is in the area of $1.7 trillion, okay? Of that, $1.3 billion dollars. Of that $1.3 billion is sourced from loans from World Bank, ADB, and AIIB. The rest is sourced from our own pocket. So that's 75% borrowed, 25% from our own tax collections. So we have enough money to get it done, okay? Now, as I mentioned earlier, our problem is right now that the manufacturers are not delivering as fast as we want it, but I gave you the schedule. We have received up to this day a total of about, about 27 or 28 million doses. Next quarter, the third quarter, we are expecting 71 million doses, and then the last quarter, something about 55 million doses. So that is certainly enough, and we are able to deliver them and inoculate people quickly.
Thank you, Secretary. That's reassuring. May I ask another question, a bit technical? This one is my own. Are you worried about the global inflation, especially in the US, with their monetary policies and massive fiscal stimulus causing market volatility and imposing on a burden on us and other EMCs via interest rate spikes, reduced capital market access, and potential additional debt service fiscal burden, and a sharp drop in asset values and financial banking stresses? What can we do to brace ourselves?
Look, in simple terms, what did the US do to pay for their expenses in the Vietnam War? In 1976, they debased their currency, right? I think they're going to do the same thing, okay? And this is throughout history, even from the pharaohs. That's what they used to do, okay?
Yes.
So we expect that it's going to be a problem. Yes, it will be a problem. Inflation is going to spike. But, right now, the inflation rate that we are experiencing is shortage of supplies. In the Philippines, it's shortage of supplies of pork and higher prices of fuel, right? In the US, it's shortages of supply. But yes, I think in the future, we are going to see a higher inflation rate. And we will have to tackle that. There is no escaping it.
Thank you, sir. I guess the one thing we have going for us is that we still have a lot of, we have lower inflation and we have a lot of headroom still to manage it, to manage a more accommodative monetary policy, even as the US tightens up. Let me just go to, I don't know how much time I have, Dick. How much time do we have? I have some personal
Don't worry
questions for
about
the
the time.
secretary.
I control the time.
Dick,
Okay, you have 15 minutes more.
okay, so
You have
I'll
lots
read
of
one
time.
more question from a couple more questions from the audience, and then if you don't mind, I will ask somewhat personal ones towards the end. This is from Regina Saga. Mr. Minister, you mentioned the amendment to the Foreign Investment Act. Could you please elaborate what planned incentives are provided to encourage more foreign investment? Thank you.
No, essentially what we want to do is bring down the barriers to foreign investments, okay? And one of the big barriers is the fact that when a foreign investment comes, some types of investments, they cannot own more than 40%. Now, that is old-fashioned already, okay? It doesn't work anymore in the new economy. So that is basically what we want to do, is lower the barriers to investment and encourage people to do it. Why will you limit, for instance, owning a telco to 40% only for foreign investments? We don't, quite frankly, I don't think we have enough money to enough resources domestically to give the Filipino people the type of telco they need.
Thank you, sir. This one from Oli Lucas. You spoke of our entering a demographic sweet spot. The 2018 PISA results, however, showed our 15-year-olds seriously lacking in higher levels literacy skills. There are kids now entering who are in the labor force. How real is that sweet spot?
The sweet spot is real, okay? And I'll tell you how you measure that, okay? We are obviously competitive abroad, That is why people still keep on hiring Pinoys to work abroad. That means to say we are competitive. Look, let's not beat ourselves up, okay? Sure, we have problems in our education system. Sure, we have problems with that. But, you know, you have to thank Liling Briones. She is the only one who had the guts to actually have it surveyed and tell us exactly where we are. So now we're going to beat her up for it. That's crazy, okay? Now we know the problem. Now we can address it, okay? But in reality, we are still very competitive abroad. Maybe it's not exactly because of our education system. Maybe it's because we work harder. Okay, but certainly we are not as badly off as some people make us to be. In fact, by the way, the OFW inflows went up by 6% already, I think, in the first half of this year.
Fantastic.
That is our oil.
Thank you, Secretary, and amen on what you said about Secretary Briones having the guts to actually get the World Bank and the other institutions to reveal and do the survey and reveal the reality that has been evolving for several decades. Thank you, Secretary.
You know, she's the one who showed us the mirror.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Secretary. Let's see.
Your personal.
Okay, that's time to well, I have a number of personal questions. I'll start with this one. Will you stay around if asked even on a transitional period or an advisory capacity to help the new administration if the president successfully manages his succession?
Look, I have never in my life asked for a job, okay? Believe you me. If somebody thinks that I can help, of course I have a civic duty to do so. And I will do my civic duty, okay? But I'm not asking to, hey, you know, give me another job. I want to stay. I'm 76 years old, okay? Come on, there are a lot of smarter guys there, like you. I'm sure Phoenix has a lot of other smart people who can do better than I can. But, you know, you need my help, fine, I'll do it.
Thank you, sir. That's reassuring. What are your wishes for the country and your grandchildren for post-Philippines, post-2022? I gather you have not had a decent long vacation for the past 5 years. What will you do right after April, May 2022?
Me? What will I do? No.
Yeah.
Hey, no. June 30.
July
June 30,
2020.
I told you, 344 days. So,
okay, sir.
Well, I I will certainly take a long holiday and do the things I have been missing, and you know, try to regain my skills in the sport I do. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Secretary.
Sure.
I think that's all the time we have, and you've been more than generous with your answers, and it's good to see you with a smile. I can see that the countdown is having its effect in terms of your disposition. Salamat po.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Secretary. We have lots of take home today. And I like that goddamn nonsense.
Sorry.
and thank you, Romy. Let me call on our President, Attorney Francis, for a plaque of appreciation for the Secretary.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the Financial Institute of the Philippines presents this plaque of appreciation to the Honorable Carlos G. Dominguez, Secretary, Department of Finance, in sharing his invaluable insights, time, honor, and speaker during the 7th next with the theme, the EOF Looking Beyond 2022. Given this 2021, signed Francisco Edlim, President Phoenix. Maraming salamat. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hello. Thank you very much, Secretary.
Thank you, Secretary. Thank you, Francis. Thank you. And thank you, Romy. All right, I think we are towards the end of the program. But before we officially adjourn, as I mentioned earlier, it is now time for a raffle. How do we do this?
Okay,
The next staff will share screen and we'll draw 5 winners. Okay. Draw now. Draw now. Okay. And the winners are Maria Concepcion De Claro, Jimmy Ismael, Rodora Lugay, Marvin Lorelia, and Zone D Garcia. What are the prizes anyway?
The face mask, no?
The face mask. This must be from Women Biz. Yeah, I think. Okay. All right. So thank you very much. We now call on again our president for the adjournment of the meeting. Francis.
Okay. Thank you very much to everybody for attending, especially to Secretary Dominguez again for being our guest of honor and speaker. And I now adjourn the meeting. Maraming salamat.
All right. Thank you. Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.